When you think Tencent and gaming, you probably think something along the lines of mobile games or League of Legends, with the company having a 100% stake in Riot since 2015, as well as recently being the first company to have a mobile game break $10 billion in revenue. If you're watching this channel, you probably don't play too much of Honor of Kings, but it might surprise you to learn that Tencent now owns a minority stake in Offworld Industries, the publisher of Squad, Postscriptum, and Beyond the Wire. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard about this, it took me by complete surprise. And I was wondering, why in the world would Tencent want Squad? And that's no offense to Squad, I absolutely love Squad, but my gut reaction was confusion. These two don't make sense, right? But as I looked into it a bit more, I've come to the realization that this investment should be great for the game. And if you were also a little bit on the fence about this one, seeing it in the news and having that same gut reaction that I did, stick with me here. Let's look at why Squad could very well be much better off with this. I also feel the need to clarify here that this isn't a sponsored video. I have zero invested interest in OWI as a company or Tencent. I don't own Tencent stock or anything like that. I just really like tactical shooters, and I really like Squad. And many of y'all over the past couple weeks have come in and talked about this investment. A few of y'all were really concerned. Others not so much, and at the end of the day, I just wanted to actually put out my thoughts on what happened here with some real data points and references, so I'm not just simply making things up and fear-mongering. Now that that's out of the way, reported on March 1st, 2022 by GamesIndustry.biz, it stated that Tencent acquired a minority stake in OWI for an undisclosed sum and plans to use the investment to support both existing and in-development titles, and to build upon the live services of its successful FPS titles, manage studio growth, and fuel the development of future titles. That statement alone is a lot to unpack, and the first big item I'd like to point out is that OWI is not going anywhere. I just recently talked about this a little bit in yesterday's video about how Squad picked the absolute perfect time to get their act together just as Battlefield 2042 was failing. But many people over the past year or so were actually extremely vocal on Discord and in Reddit that OWI was basically collapsing, abandoning Squad, and more or less running out with everyone's money without finishing the game. I'm not saying a lot of people were saying this, but it was frequent enough that I would hear it week in and week out on Reddit posts and would pop in every once in a while on stream. If anything, the fact that OWI has received investment from not a video game company, but the world's largest company in the video game industry should show that OWI is not going anywhere. And all of those rumors should be laid to rest. And they even mentioned future titles. So it's not just a, hey, let's get this current batch of games out the door and finished, buttoned up, V3, Squad, Marines, Pan-Asia, but hey, Squad 2 confirmed? Maybe a little bit. Now, if you want a real example of why this should show that the company is going to be successful and is finally stabilized over the past year, we can see this through how OWI has operated over the past few months. And I'm not just talking about developing V2.12, V2.13, and 14, but the announcement of this minority stake came on March 1st, 2022, but the deal was most likely in the works for some time. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of this investment resulted in the restructuring that we've just seen. The company finally hired a new CEO in January after over a year of not having one, which is, yeah, that's just not good. I don't think I have to explain why having a vacancy like that is a bad thing, since we can also just simply look at this past year of development and see for ourselves what it did to Squad. But in addition to a CEO, we also got a new community manager in Wedge. We're currently in the middle of our second dev Q&A, but in general, the communication and just organization of Squad is light years better than we've seen in at least a year or two of where I've been playing and paying attention with Squad. I'm not saying Tencent were the reason for this, but I am saying that I do think Tencent gave them maybe a little bit of the stability, and they're partly the reason why the CEO hire, community manager hire, and reorganization was made possible. Moving on from the organization of OWI, this might just be PR speak, but the release statement also specified development of live service for current titles and continued development for work-in-progress titles. My current take on this is that Postscriptum and Beyond the Wire are going to get a nice nudge or perhaps a kick in the ass in development. And although Postscriptum seems to be on life support with a 30-day average of just 300 players, Beyond the Wire is actually dead, with only 24 players in the past 30 days playing the game. That is not good. The peak players is actually just more than enough to fill one complete server. And as much as I actually really like Beyond the Wire, and I enjoy the theme and I actually enjoy the gameplay personally, and I don't know if this would happen, but I would really like to see dedicated OWI servers for Beyond the Wire and Postscriptum, since I believe that one huge barrier to entry on these games is that they all hinge on a group of players spending money each month to host their own server and then admin the games. I played Holdfast the other day, and Anvil Game Studios actually has official servers for players to play in, as well as custom hosted servers, which is a great way to support players and encourage communities. So, in my opinion, using some of that Tencent cash to fund some servers might not actually be a bad move to get people back into playing some Postscriptum and even trying out Beyond the Wire. Now for Squad, well, we can look to the roadmap to see that there's plenty of things still to be finished that have already been promised. But my main concern in hearing this announcement that they're specifying live service is that future DLC would be monetized in some way. And although I'm not necessarily against paid DLC, since it's actually a great way to continue to support long-term game development, despite it, potentially dividing the community, it would honestly feel really bad if after all of this time, OWI announced the Marines were coming in 3.0, but you had to pay for it. I don't think that's what would happen, and I definitely hope it doesn't happen, but I'm trying to think of other monetization methods that Tencent would try to implement or at least help implement for Squad, and they all don't really make any sense. Squad can't realistically have battle royale systems like battle passes or seasons. There's no loot boxes for weapon skins, and you can't really customize your character at all other than choosing rifleman or anti-tank or squad leader. These are all the 3 tried and true monetization methods that we get in every modern game. So what else could we do? Right now, if you're listening to this, I want you to tell me in the comments below if you would 1. Buy a cosmetic item or item pack, like let's say the Forest Camo AK pack that you could buy for $9.99 and would apply to all AK-74M rifles. And 2, would you care if others did that? And if you were running around and seeing players with now a forest camo on their rifle. Now, I'm not talking outlandish rainbow unicorn rifles and clown outfits for soldiers, but unassuming minor cosmetics. Last year, we did hear a bit more about Squad finally implementing things like soldier patches and veteran weapon skins and integrating that into Steam and the Steam marketplace. So I actually would expect those at Tencent to look at this as a possible way to monetize Squad through some sort of cosmetics, but I really don't think we need to worry about the crazy stuff getting in game. And that's because Tencent also recently acquired a minority stake in Bohemia Interactive in February of 2021, which, if you're not familiar with, is the studio behind Arma. If anything, I think Tencent has realized that the tactical shooter space is a very lucrative market, especially based on last year's Arma 3 numbers, and they really do speak for themselves. Over 1 million copies of the base game of Arma 3 were sold last year, and for a game that is now 9 years old, that is absolutely nuts. In the milsim category, while Arma is the best in the PvE side of things, I think Squad is the best in the PvP side of things, and messing with what has really been a winning formula despite the development hiccups over the past year would be pretty dumb from a business standpoint for Tencent. I really don't think they have any intention of scaring off the milsim or milsim light crowd with dumb monetization methods, mobile game gimmicks, or other cash shops, so I would strongly encourage y'all to stop worrying about that. Now, would I see a patch or some other type of uniform things implemented? Maybe. I don't not see that happening, but I'm not necessarily sure if I would care at this point because I just really enjoy the game, and maybe I've just been conditioned to like this stuff now over years of just having it shoved in my face in every game, but having a patch or some other type of very minor weapon or uniform skin really wouldn't ruin my enjoyment, and especially if it's going to support continued development, I don't think I really care about it. Now, moving on from monetization what ifs, I also think it's important to note that Squad has a huge Chinese player base. And although you might not see much of that player base because of language barriers or time zones, 2 of the top 15 Squad servers are Chinese, and there's even a Squad Zombies server that gets full 100-player zombie games on a daily basis. With the Pan-Asian faction in development and already a healthy Asian community, it would make the best business sense to try and give OWI the tools to finish what should be more or less a fictional representation of the Chinese military. And adding that faction would not only get people all over the world to purchase the game, but then you would also create a huge draw from the largest gaming market in the world. Tencent aren't dumb, and that just makes smart money sense. At the end of the day, I know a lot of you guys heard this news and were concerned. You don't think milsim when you hear Tencent, but although Tencent is obviously a successful gaming company in terms of revenue and monetization, even their recent track record shows that they stay true to games like Arma 3 and studios like Bohemia Interactive and want to see them succeed. Obviously, we don't really know the inner workings of this minority stake deal and what the real future holds for Squad and OWI, but I think this is a solid reinforcement that those at Off-World Industries are doing something really, really right. Hey, if we're in the timeline where Tencent invests into OWI and we're able to get a Squad 2 with a fully destructible environment, yeah, I'm going to be completely on board with that. But what do you guys think? Are you still worried about crazy battle passes and cosmetics? Would you pay for the Marines or maybe even any other faction if they were released as paid DLC? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. And don't forget to check out the live streams at twitch.tv/MoiDawg, where I stream every weekday, so I hope to see you there. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.